Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 2 of the Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Jesus Conde and today we're going to continue with this painting. If you haven't seen last week's episode, check it out. When we created the line art for this painting. Right now there's a new format with shorter but better explained tutorials. If you want to see the full process, just click the link in the description. So before I start, I want to thank the people that is helping me in this project. Karen Morta, she's the 3D models and animation on this project. Gustavo Leon, he's helping me with the layouts. Dorian Marco, he's doing the soundtrack and giving ideas for the soundtrack on this project. Ana Maria Ilinka, she's the model or main inspiration for the character's appearance. Daniel Ilinka is the photographer that takes Ana Maria's pictures. And you can check the links in the description if you want to visit their gallery and their work. They are really good, so please give them your support. So to create a brush, first you need to start with a really small file, really small image, because depending on the resolution it's going to be slow to paint with it. So 500 to 500 pixels with 72 resolution is okay. I'm going to paste an image that I took from the internet. It should be free texture. It should be a free texture, so make sure it is. What I'm going to do now, it really doesn't matter what you do with this image because it's going to change a lot. The next thing that you have to do is paint the borders really white because we don't want the brush to have straight edges with the border of the image. So you can do it this way, you can do it any other way, but this is a nice way to do it. Then what you want to do is create adjustment layers. You can do one of hue and saturation to make it black and white or grayscale, and you can want to put brightness and contrast because you want it really bright. So you can do something like this, and then we're going to copy this brightness and contrast several times. Something like this is okay. So we want to merge these layers. I'm going to do it from down up. I'm going to select this first one. I'm going to press Ctrl E, and they're going to merge. So I'm going to select the other one. I'm going to push Ctrl E again. I'm going to select the other one, Ctrl E, and Ctrl E again. That's it. So you could get rid of these edges that are looks really bad. I can copy this part, turn it over, and do something like this. You can use your creativity to create this brush. That is what it's all about when creating the brushes. So there's a way to do it. Then you have your image, really small image. You go to edit, define brush preset, and you create your brush. You click OK, and then here you have it. We need to start tweaking this brush, so I'm going to select a new file, and I'm going to paint with it to test it. I had it on the eraser, so I'm going to put it in the brush. So there we go. This is our brush. But for this tutorial, it have different settings. I'm going to go to Windows, brushes, or you can press F5, and I need less spacing, so it repeats. 2% spacing is good. That way it repeats constantly. We need other dynamics, so it goes opacity. It has opacity with the pen pressure. In the new Photoshop, it's called transfer. So you can see the result in here. And we need color dynamics, and this what going to do. I'm going to put 5%, 4% if in all of them is more than good. What's going to happen is that the brush is going to change depending on what it has in the back. So I'm going to create another color for the back so you can see the difference. and I'm going to use another color for the brush, and you can see the difference that it makes little changes. You can see little changes on the color. So this is what this brush is all about. Now this one that I have here doesn't work at all. I have to create a new one with these settings. So I put a name, let's call it weird brush, and I'm going to erase the other one. I also use the same brush, but I change the shape to a more plain one, something like that, and I'm going to save it too. So weird brush 2. That's it. Those are the brushes that I use for this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing that you have to think about is where to start. And before you start applying any colors, think of the color that you're going to use. You need to pick the half tone of that color, meaning that is not the darker, is not the lighter of that color. So is in between, is the half. So if you're going to paint something, you should look for the half tone of that. You have room to paint bright, and you have room to paint dark. So if you're going to paint dirt, you should use kind of a mid-tone of that color. Let's say something like this, because you still have room to paint the light colors that are like in here, all this part, and the darker ones that are here. So now that you know that you have to start with the mid-tone, um, you just pick your mid-tone. In my case is this one, and I want to pick some variations of that color too. Even that I have my mid-tone, I need a little darker and a little lighter version of that, because I don't want to make my picture plain to look like cartoony. So I'm going to give you a little tip about how can you achieve these little difference variations in the colors, so you can apply it to your paintings. Okay guys, so I'm going to show you two examples of what you cannot do in a painting, um, in terms of the result that you want to make it look better, more pro. Depending, doesn't really matter what brush do you use. So I'm going to use a normal brush for this, and this is a plain color, and this is something that you shouldn't do. So if you have to paint something, you just paint the color of that thing, and that's it. You shouldn't do that. You should paint the color, and then you should find some variations on it. One way to do it is just going to the color picker and selecting a little variation of that color, a little bit more darker or a little bit more light of the same. That way it just look a bit different. Then you blend everything out, and the result is something far more interesting than what you have if you just painted the color that it is. So this is something that you should start applying to all your paintings, and you can see that in the way I painted the ground. I look for different versions of the same color, and I just painted it that way, and this will give you more richness to your painting. So this is bad and this is good. Okay, so now I have to decide where's the light coming from, and I start that. I'm going to explain you a few seconds later how can you achieve this, what I'm doing right now, which is making these light rays, and why is this happening. So I decided to start with the ground because the is the most, it covers the most of the painting. Is the biggest reference or where the light is coming from. And I started applying a little bit of shadows using blending the color of the ground a little bit with blue, because the shadow should have some of the ambient color, some of the sky color. I haven't put the sky color yet, but it's going to be blue, obviously. And that's a good tip that you should guys keep in mind. So I'm going to explain you why I decided to put these rays and how can you achieve the same effect on your paintings. And how do you think, how can you, what do you have to think about when doing this? Hey guys, so I wanted to give you a cool tip about lighting. There are a few things that you have to keep in mind. The first one is, where is your light coming from? In my case, the light is coming from this way. This is where my sun is coming from. So now that I know what it is, I need to think of, there's other stuff around. There's other stuff around this image. Doesn't mean that you don't see the things in the image itself. It's like when you take a picture. When you take a picture outside, there's this whole universe going on around you, and you just take a picture of what it is in front of you. So that doesn't mean there's not other stuff around. And here, for example, I imagine there was a rock here. I imagine there was a pine tree or something like that. Maybe it could be another column, maybe it could be another rock. And it definitely have something big in here, which didn't decide what it was, just thought it was something. So this way you create a far more interesting lighting than if you don't think this before you start painting. And because the light is coming from this part, you have the shadows happening here. So this dark here is because of this rock, and this dark here is because of this. And the light was coming so low that is kind of like swimming here in the floor and then touching the rocks and everything. So that was the main lighting setup for this image. So I really hope you like this tip. Start applying it to your paintings. So if you are not quite sure how I painted this, I selected these colors. Um, of course, it comes easier with experience, but an easy way to do it if, for example, for the highlights, you can select the same color or pick a little piece of the color with the select tool, go to brightness and put some brightness, and then you can pick that new color and just paint with it. Then what you have to do is blend it a little with the color of the sun, but just in few parts. That way you can create a lot more of variation on that color, and it will look way better. You can keep of the some of the base color too. That way it look more interesting. For the shadows, you can apply the same technique but the opposite. You can select, go to brightness and contrast, and do the opposite. So now you have the darker version of it. And what you can do to put some ambient light on that color is select a little bit of the color of the sky and put just a little bit, and that will give you a better some variations on the color that you're using for the shadows. That way your image will look far more interesting than if you just make it dark, the color darker. You can keep some of the base color too to make it look more interesting. At the end is the same process repeated over and over again, and just taking my time. Notice that I'm using a really small brush. The size of the brush is really small. That means that it really took a lot of time to paint this. Of course, I use a bigger brush in some cases, but I try to use as smallest as possible because I really want to focus on giving the best blending with the time. Um, a pro artist, a good artist, takes about at least, and I'm not talking about doing it slow on purpose. I'm talking about is what it takes. It's just the time what it takes. Takes about, I don't know, like 18 to 30 hours per image. So you cannot try to achieve the same result as they do if you don't spend at least the same amount of time. And it should take you more because you're still learning. If you're still learning, it should take you more time, even more time. So what I'm trying to say here is don't try to rush the process. Take it really slow with patience, and the results will come with the time. I promise. So take your time doing your paintings. Follow the tips. Download the full video in the description where you can see all the process that I did. It's a really long video where you can see all the hours that it took and all the process that I did. So thank you very much. That's it. Hey guys, what's up? I know how important to you is to paint the skin. So I made this little guide of about 20 pages that it comes with all the skin tones, it comes with all the line arts, it comes with all the textures that I made for these tutorials. It comes with two videos, one about how to paint female skin and another one of how to paint male skin. So if you want to support this channel, this is the best way to do it. There's a link in the description. This is the preferred way for me because I feel like I give you something back for your donation. So if you want to get this material, there is a link in the description. The only thing that when you done the payment, you will have to wait for a few minutes for me to give you the link to your email personally, because I write you personally to give you the link, because I have to check on the PayPal account for the email or where the payment is done. So I will personally send you a link to your email. So if I take a little, don't freak out. It's totally normal. I have never failed to deliver one of these materials. So thank you very much. If you are interested in getting this material, just use the link in the description. And thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and you're helping me to create more content for the channel. Thank you very much.